Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard, my name is Caven Masuku. I'm at Michigan State University, but currently doing my PhD with UGA. And my article looks at social media and politics in Zimbabwe, an analysis of Facebook and Twitter conversation by two ZANU-PF factions from 2015 to 2017. Looking at the introduction, let me start by giving you the introduction of my article. As you can see, one would then wonder why, looking at political communication, I had to look at two main political figures within ZANU-PF. That was Professor Jonathan Moyo and George Charamba, who was and is the spokesman in the president's office. And then starting with the term social here, the social media, and you'd find out that social media, it is a social platform that is found on World Wide Web that can be used for social chat, for befriending and meeting strangers. But then one cannot ignore that it has been actually used for other purposes apart from socializing, like in this case, for political communication. And I shall be focusing on Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front, ZANU-PF, picking two key figures there, Professor Jonathan Moyo and George Charamba. And the two belong to the two camps. Like Professor Jonathan Moyo represent the Generation 40, which we call G40. And then George Charamba, though he was the spokesperson in the president's office representing Lacoste. And this element of successionist, like I've defined it there, it means separation of small groups from a greater entity, and then declaring independence from the bigger group. And why am I saying that? Because I'm looking at the two from the main political parties, but also claiming independence, representing different camps, like Generation 40 and Lacoste. But this problem of successionist as a concept, I had to broaden it up even to include the opposition, where I'm saying successionist, it has been a concept that has been contested and affecting political parties, because even the main opposition political party in Zimbabwe has actually had those challenges, and you can see various camps springing from one there. We ended up having Movement for Democratic Change, MDC Tsvangirai, and Movement for Democratic Change, MDC Ngube, and then Movement for Democratic Change, MDC Mtambara. And then looking at social media, it is a website that has been generated from 2.0, as you can see there. And then looking at Facebook and Twitter, Facebook is one of the social network platform that is being used in Zimbabwe, as well as Twitter. And with regard to the background of Facebook, you know, it started with Mark Zuckerberg, a Harvard scholar, and by then it was only limited to Harvard students, because for you to have access, you were supposed to log using the Harvard email address, but later on it was then open. And then Twitter, we are looking at a microbiological website which also controls you on how to communicate. And in terms of the methodology there, I used triangulation, which is a mixture of qualitative and quantitative. And this study is guided by two theoretical frameworks, that is social shaping of technology and social network side. And looking at the two theories, like social construction of technology, it is a theory that replaced that theory propounded by a Canadian scholar, Marshall McLuhan, which also emphasizes or fulfills the effect traditional theory, which says media are powerful. And then through social shaping of technology, I'm looking at how the technology and the users can be active actors, shaping each other. While technology shapes us, as users, we also shape technology. So I will be focusing on the two main politicians in Zimbabwe and their followers, the extent to which they shaped social media and the extent to which social media shaped them in communication. For instance, looking at this micro blogging site like Twitter, which says you should communicate in not more than 140 characters. But then it has to be appreciated because it allows you to communicate through pictures, through audios, or even text. And then the other theory there, which is social network site theory, is the theory that talks about how people can actually have their followers and nodes and having, connections. And here I'm looking at these two main politicians in Zimbabwe and how they ended up through their followers, roped in many other, participants commenting on the successionist issue in Zimbabwe. And then in terms of literature review, I was broad enough because I had to look at social media as a political actor. I had to look at a theoretical framework which has to do with propaganda, particularly looking at scholars like Elson and Boyd 2015, looking at scholars like Jowitz, O'Donnell and Jowitz, who talks of white propaganda, black propaganda, and grey propaganda. And why propaganda? Because when I was looking at the communication made by these two main politicians in Zimbabwe, they could either resort to black propaganda, and according to Jowitz, he says when you talk of black propaganda, that is the use of words or images in a way that are very deceptive and misrepresenting. But when you're talking of white propaganda, that's when he argues that this is one strategy through which politicians can use a certain lens actually to argue their issues. And then grey propaganda, looking at how, because grey propaganda is an integration of black propaganda and white propaganda. So in terms of the methodology, like I said, it's triangulation, which is a mixture of qualitative and quantitative. And I had to use purposive sampling and random sampling. And I had to use content analysis to look at the posts that were made by the two politicians, as well as the comments that were being made by their followers. And let me quickly rush to my findings. Like the first one there, it has that subtopic there which says influence of Facebook and Twitter for dialogical discussion on successionist disputes. And we had to forward 30 online questionnaires to the followers of the two politicians as we could identify them as they made some comments. And then we could also hear from them. And indeed, we realized that the two politicians used social media in Zimbabwe to discuss about successionist disputes, and also allowing their followers also to debate and make arguments about the successionist dispute and within ZANU-PF. And we also used archival research methods there, where we had to go to their sites and extract their posting there, the posting of the two politicians as well as their followers. But we noted that like John Charamba, he had a Facebook account, but he did not have a Twitter account. But the former Minister of Tertiary and Higher Education, Science and Technology, Professor Jonathan Moyo, he had two accounts, both Twitter and Facebook, and he used them actually to debate, to pit, and discuss, on successionist issues, but also representing G40, not Lacoste. And there are the extracts, like the one there by George Charamba, who was and is the spokesman in the president's office, and the other one there by Professor Jonathan Moyo. So, for instance, to pick that one, which says, there is only one unpretentious crocodile, Kushungo. The rest are imposters infesting the rivers. And looking at that content, we could then say there's black propaganda there, as well as white propaganda, because by saying that, obvious, we can say that Jonathan Moyo, who belonged to G40, was legitimizing his camp and pitting the other camp of Lacoste. And also why saying crocodile, because it was thought that the current president was belonging to that camp, which used to be called Lacoste. So by saying the rest imposters infesting the rivers, it means he was demeaning the other camp. So another finding of this study was that use of Facebook and Twitter by ZANU-PF officials. They use Facebook and Twitter to make political debates, yet we know that as a political party, they were supposed to, debate using proper procedures and not washing their dirty linen using social media, since it had, some far-reaching implication which was beyond their control. And from the findings of my study there, we also had some images, like the one that is there, where Jonathan Moyo was legitimizing his camp by saying that he is actually, it's a rhetoric there where he says, where is Mtwanga? Moyo exchange words with Mtwanga, where is he now? Charamba, who is quieter now? So looking at that, you could see, black propaganda, white propaganda, where Jonathan Moyo seemed to be legitimizing his own camp by saying that they are the ones who are in charge, and the other camp, which is La Costa, is being pitted there. And again, by asking those questions, he's saying that all of them, starting with Mtwanga, he has been neutralized, and Charamba, he has been neutralized because they've been arguing with Jonathan Moyo. And by so doing, he was then pitting them and showing that they are in charge, in contrast with their contenders there. And then now looking at the third finding, which is the last one, which says legitimization and delegitimization of faction within ZANU-PF through Facebook and Twitter. And from our finding, indeed, we found out that the two camps from the main political party, which is the ruling party, Zimbabwe African National Union, Patriotic Front, actually used the social media to legitimize and delegitimize. As you can see there, the image of Professor Jonathan Moyo riding a crocodile there, it shows that he's in charge, and the crocodile representing the other, faction of La Costa. So there it was an image that seeks to show that he was in charge and the other camp was being conquered. And then in our conclusion, because of the time, I'm behind time there, we indeed found out that the two politicians from Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front used Facebook and Twitter to discuss successionist dispute. But there is somewhere where they agreed, where they were saying, despite having all these arguments, all of them, they had a meeting point where they were saying the former president was not supposed to die while leading the country. And then we also found that the two camps within ZANU-PF, they used social media, that is Facebook and Twitter, to legitimize and delegitimize themselves, and using that social network sites where they could even rope in their followers to comment pro their camps. And also the general findings of the study revealed that politicians use social media platform to engage in political debates, factionalism, and to settle their differences within the ruling party in Zimbabwe. Thank you so much.